Thank you all for taking the time. Thank you all for taking the time to join us. We're really excited about this one. It's part of We Are Guernsey's Sustainable Finance Week. It's set up by the Sustainable Business Initiative, which is something we've been working in Chamber on for a few years now, and it's been set up to help businesses move towards being more sustainable. So we want to help businesses know what they can do and how they can do it, really. So if you're new to the Sustainable Business Initiative, then please do try and get involved and look us up on LinkedIn or Facebook, or you'll hear about us through Chamber and the normal channels. What we're covering today in this Sustainable Finance Week event is a completely new way of looking at insurance to make it something that's fit for an age where sustainability needs to be at the heart of everything we do. So we're delighted that Sustainable Business Initiative committee member Julie-anne Headington has taken the time to put this idea together and consult with stakeholders, and ultimately is here today to share exactly what sustainable insurance cover is and how it might work. So without further ado, I will hand over to her. One bit of housekeeping before I do that. Sorry, Julie-anne. As I said before, we're going to be taking questions at the end, but if you have a question at any time during the event, please just type it into the Q&A section of Zoom, and I will be reading those out to Julie-anne and making sure that all those get covered. And we do have time for questions at the end. The presentation isn't really long. It should be about 20 minutes, and then we have some time for questions at the end. So over to you, Julie-anne, and I will mute and turn off my video to stop being distracting. Okay. Thank you all for coming.
Okay, hi everybody. As probably a warning, more than anything, this is my very first webinar I've ever done. So hopefully it will go okay. As Rolly said, it should take about 20 minutes to do. Please put your questions on the chat throughout the webinar. There is a lot of information that I have to get through, but as I said, it's quite a short webinar. It's only 15 slides. So I am a chartered loss adjuster and a chartered insurance practitioner with 31 years experience in the insurance industry. So that's a bit about my background. So today I've got some notes to read off as well, actually. So today I'm going to tell you how I consider an insurance policy can be specifically developed around sustainability and durability in the long term, reduce the frequency of claims, stabilise insurance premiums, and ultimately be good for the island and also for the planet. Big ask, but I do think it's something that working together we can all achieve. So let me start. So a question for you all at the start to consider: would you take out an insurance policy if your premium was rated based on the steps you were taking to be more sustainable? Also, that when the claims process was handled, they took into account sustainability and durability at claim settlement. And also there was a way to measure and offset your carbon footprint. So the idea of this webinar today is to convince you that this is a good idea to do. So more information will follow as to the steps that can be taken to achieve this. So regarding insurance companies, insurance is everywhere. Now I'm limiting this to construction, homeowners, property owners. So what if insurers were able to develop a specific policy which was targeted at how they insure properties based on their construction and sustainability values, and how when they did settle the insurance claim, they took into account all those aspects. So the policyholder or homeowner is working together with the insurance company to consider the sustainable outcomes, because as people are saying now is the time, with what's happened, as we know, with COVID, with the world in general, with all of the statistics that are getting thrown at us about what's happening to the planet. This is something that I believe that we can achieve together. So if I just explain in more detail. So targeted approach. So firstly, the insurance company create a policy which looks at what the policyholder is doing. So when you currently fill out a proposal form and you take out an insurance policy, there are questions that are asked regarding construction of the property, where it's located. What about if that was taken a step further, where it was also, the premium was set, taking into account whether you've got solar panels, the sort of insulation that you've got, or you're setting your carbon footprint. It looked at what you were doing as a property owner and your impact on the environment. Now, secondly, when settling a claim, you have a property at the moment which you've had a water leak, you've got radiators everywhere in the property. If at the time of reinstatement, the insurer would say to you, well, actually, we've got radiators, how about looking at a more sustainable way of having your heating, maybe underfloor heating instead? Have you considered what sort of installation you've got in your property when you look to undertake the repairs? Look at doing it in a more sustainable way. Look at the products that are being used in construction. Look at maybe the method of manufacture of those products and the source, where they're coming from. We know that there is not a finite supply of materials. We know that the fossil fuel supply is going down. We know that at the moment with COVID, there is a shortage of building supplies, the traditional ones, concrete, steel. What about looking at a different product for construction, one that's been recycled, one that's made of products which are more sustainable and also even grow quicker, for argument's sake, acacia trees instead of oak. Bamboo grows at an extortionate rate. I believe it's a metre a week. So there are other products which grow quicker, can be replenished quicker in the environment, that they can be used instead. Now, I spoke to Mark Lenny last week and talking about materials being used, and apparently Ronays locally are looking at what they can do with the waste products of the slag that's generated from the manufacture of their concrete. So again, it's a different way of looking at things. Thirdly, measuring your carbon footprint. Now, when we go on to the next slide, I'll talk about that more, but everything has a carbon footprint. And we know that we all generate carbon with what we do, manufacturing, how we live our lives. Now, I was listening to the Family Office and Wealth webinar yesterday morning, and Oliver came out with some quite sort of startling facts, one of which was in 1804, there was 1 million people on the planet. We're now looking at, 1 billion people, I apologise. Now we're looking at 8 billion. Now that has got to have an impact on how the planet is. So let's just get through to the crux of the matter. So the stakeholders. Okay, let's make a start. So the homeowner. The homeowner has to want to work with the insurance company, say, well, we will maintain our property, which is their obligation anyway to do that, but we will work with the insurance company, clear, simple, specific policy wording. The homeowner knows what they're insured for. They know how the claims process will work in a sustainable way when they submit a claim. The broker. Now, the broker is the intermediary between the insurance company and the homeowner. So the broker will know what products are available in the insurance market. If the homeowner comes to him and says, we want this product, then there is a demand for it. If the broker says to the homeowner, you may not be aware this product will be made available, do you want it? Then again, there's a market for it. Now, the crux of this, suspense moment, the insurance company. The insurer will have to adapt or generate a specific policy and look how they do their underwriting. Now, insurance itself has evolved anyway over 30, 40 years. My husband actually explained it very succinctly recently at a meeting we had. Years ago, you would have your item. Okay, they wouldn't have been around 30 years ago, but say you've got this item, it cost you £10. When you had your insurance policy, you put your claim in, they paid you £10. Fast forward to the next level of insurance cover, which is reinstatement, or what we call new for old. This would be damaged. You would get a replacement of the current equivalent, which may cost you £15, but it's better than what you had, new for old policy. Take that a step further to sustainability. So if you're already looking at new for old and maybe improving on what you've already got, replacing with the current modern equivalent, why not take it a step further to sustainability? That's the thought. Okay, this is where I come in. I'm the loss adjuster. So we are appointed by the insurance company to deal with large and complex claims. We go along, we assess the damage, we will then agree what work needs to be done. If it's a very large claim, a building surveyor will be appointed. They draft up a specification of repair, which is a list of materials required to do the repairs and a list of the labour. They in turn will liaise with the contractor who will price those items. So what if, when we get to this stage, the contractor says, I can use this item, which I've always used, or the sustainable alternative is this. The perception is that sustainable materials cost more than standard materials. That may be a misconception now because of the scarcity of current materials. Prices are going up generally anyway. And I think with the mindset of individuals and what they're buying, I do think that the balance is closer than what we think. Now, if the claim is small, the homeowner can go direct to the contractor. So the homeowner can say, I want you to quote for me to do my repairs in a sustainable way, with sustainable materials. Again, coming from the homeowner. So you've got that alliance going on there with all those people. Then we get to the suppliers. You can only use what you can buy. Now, having spoken to the local suppliers, they are able to source, and they already are actually sourcing sustainable materials with a longer lifespan, durability. So sustainability, the actual, and I know I'm coming up with this term a lot, the official interpretation is the avoidance of depletion of natural resources in order to maintain an ecological balance, in this case, the pursuit of global environment stability. So what I'm saying here is, if we keep using the materials we're currently using, taking them out of our planet, we're going to run out, and also the planet eventually, it's going to fight back. It's going to infect, it already is affecting our carbon footprint. Now, I also talked about durability. Now, durability is the ability to last a long time without significant deterioration and requiring minimum maintenance. It is an important factor in assessing the stability of a material. So again, you can buy a material which you think that'll do me for 3 years, it's going to fail. If it leaks, I can put an insurance claim in. Or you can buy a better product which will last you longer. So you're buying less, wasting less into landfill. Guernsey Building Trade Association, again, I've spoken with them. A lot of what they do is driven on price from the homeowner, but if the homeowner is aware that if they invest now in better products, better materials, better methods of construction, which will last longer, they will benefit in the long term, because you can pay a bit more now, but if you pay less now, have an item which doesn't have the longevity, you're going to end up paying again. So maybe what you spend now will be more, but you'll save in the long run. ESI Monitor. So ESI Monitor is a locally owned independent company, which was set up 3 years ago by Mark Lenné. And they are working, I believe, with 65 companies now, one of which is our business, looking at the carbon footprint that they generate, looking at ways to reduce it and also offset it. So if we look at a way where we can measure our carbon footprint and offset that in Guernsey, I know there's been talk about the blue economy. Now, I've got an article here, I don't know if you're all about seagrass. Seagrass grows quick, and seagrass actually absorbs 10 times as much carbon dioxide with the same area as it would in a forest. So Guernsey has got an amazing coastline. So maybe look for carbon offsetting, something that can be done locally with Guernsey. Seagrass, planting trees, liaising with all of the other initiatives on the island that there are for sustainability, the pollination project, soil.gg, and maybe we can liaise with other initiatives on the island and offset our carbon footprint locally. Government, final one, government. Now, I'm delighted to say that I've actually met with Lindsay de Sommeray, and I'm meeting with her again in the near future. Now, every policy has conditions, and one of the conditions is that the repairs, or reinstatement works as I call them, are undertaken in accordance with building regulations. So what if the building regulations were enhanced so that when properties were constructed, when they were repaired, that you had to take into account sustainability and durability of the products you were using. So instead of it being an option to consider, it would level the playing field, and that would be the way that construction is undertaken in Guernsey. I know these things take time, but we are moving forward. It's taken 18 months to get to this point, and to be sitting here in front of you now is just absolutely brilliant for me. So a lot of information so far. This is basically the plan. I met with all the stakeholders last week. We've come up with a roadmap and ideas we all need to go away and look at and think about. So any questions you've got on what I've said so far, or positive or negative feedback, everything is good. It's not a problem, it's a challenge. Please submit those. So we'll go forward in a bit more detail now. The insurance pool. Now, I'm sure you're all aware of how it works. I was going to use sweets as a visual, but I'll instead let's try and do it. If you can imagine in your mind, you've got a big bowl full of blue, green, yellow, red marbles. So at the start of the year, that's your premium. Everyone pays into the bowl, that's your insurance premium. As the year goes along, people claim, you take all the marbles out the bowl. At the end of the year, that bowl has been depleted. So you go to the market and your policyholders and say, I want more marbles, please fill up the bowl again. Now, it could be that with blue, green, yellow, red, Mr. Red says, I've not had a claim this year. Why is my premium going up? Well, it's going up because everyone else has been claiming and we need to replenish the pool. So imagine that happens every year, and those people who haven't had a claim are still impacted by the insurance pool. So what we need to do to make that last longer is we need to reduce the claims going forward. So if you consider sustainability in reinstatement, ultimately you would have less claims, items are lasting longer, and things will stabilise. This isn't a quick fix. We're looking at years, not months, but you have to start somewhere. Okay, incentives for insurers. Let's go to my notes here. Okay. So, underwriting implications. As I said at the start, when a person goes to take out insurance, they look at various items with the property so that they can, what we call, rate it. So they can set a premium which is appropriate to the type of property that there is, location, construction, previous claims the policyholder may have had. So what if at this point they look at what you're doing as an individual for the environment? So they say, well, they've got geothermal heating, they've got solar panels, they're looking to reduce their energy output, they've got insulation, they're looking at what sort of heating have they got. So insurers would take the questions a step further into evaluating what that property is and how they would set their premium. Now, again, the perception is that recycled materials are more expensive than traditional. Again, the balance of that, not sure that it is correct at the moment, but because we'd be looking at a policy which would in effect be enhancing what you've already got. So like at the example I gave with sort of radiators, underfloor heating, it could be when you've had all your plasterboard damage with water, when they look to reinstate, they say, well, let's look at, instead of putting you back with plasterboard, let's put back thermal insulation. Now, this is a tricky situation because insurers need to look at cost implications, how much they're looking to pay in addition to what normal costs would be. But again, the increase in costs that they would have now would have a long-term benefit, being claims frequency reduction. So if you have a claim where you've got an oil tank, the oil tank's exploded, oil's gone everywhere, there's a risk that there might be a fire in the future with that. The policyholder says, I'm actually going to put back underfloor heating. That's going to reduce the risk of me ever having an oil claim. So again, the method of construction and how you reinstate will have an impact on the type and frequency of claims going forward. Customer perception. I don't believe from my experience that it's a general rule that policyholders read all their policy wordings and they will submit a claim, and then as a loss adjuster we will come in and say, actually that isn't covered. I didn't know that it wasn't covered. It's a lot to go through when you get a policy. So what if there was a tailored policy wording, clear and simple, so the policyholder knew what they were covered for, what they weren't covered for, and what the insurance company would do for them. So even before they had a claim, they would have the reassurance that if a claim were to happen, I know I'm insured for this and the insurance company will cover me and my claim will be paid. Working together, building trust, and also educating a policyholder, because a general homeowner may not know what they can do even themselves to enhance their policy, just little bits they can do at home in the house. And working with the insurance company, they can improve their education and tips of what they can do even before an insurance claim happens, that they can prevent anything from occurring. Again, it's the right time and it's the right thing to do. Now, I know there was something recently that GEAR are also looking at something in the captive market and how they can look at sustainability in what they do. So the insurance market in general is looking at this, but from a general insurance perspective, instead of looking at how the big insurer offsets their carbon footprint, look at what the insurer can do to the policy with the policyholder, how they can influence their underwriting and what they can do to make the claims process easier, because we know anyone that's had an insurance claim, the distress that it causes, the upheaval, nobody wants to go through that. And as loss adjusters, we deal with people, that is our job, but we meet them and they are upset, they are traumatized. And if you can reduce that somehow, surely that's also a good thing as well. So incentives for the policyholder. So, as I said, enhanced policy cover. They know what they're insured for, what they're covered for. Again, targeted premiums. They will be rewarded for what they're doing. And also with the insurance policy and with the underwriting, there may be, because you're looking at sustainability, it may be a policy condition that you say, okay, we will give you this cover, but you must agree to maintain your boiler once a year, get your water heater serviced. So the property holder, the obligation will be on them to maintain their property. Now, great quote from Rollo the other day, maintenance is the best form of sustainability. And if you maintain something, it lasts longer. Now, I'm just going to give you the life jacket approach. So, prevention. So you get on board a plane and they say to you, put your seatbelt on. Here's your life jacket, it's under your seat. This is how you put it on in case the plane crashes. So this is really a life jacket approach. You're doing maintenance of your property to prevent damage from happening, which means you won't have a claim, which means you won't have the distress. So, and you as a homeowner are also taking control as well, because you are in control of how you maintain your property. Claims happen, claims will always happen. The idea is that the claims are reduced. As I said, working with insurers to improve the maintenance of your property through education. I've just said the claim frequency and distress will be reduced. No one likes to go through the claims process. It's not easy. It is distressing no matter how you look at it. And from what we call an intrinsic value, when you have a water damage or fire, you lose items which you can never replace, personal items. So if you can do something to prevent that from occurring, that would be great. Also, if you maintain your property, increases property value. Win-win. And if your home, if you look at your energy consumption in your home, how how the waste energy, even putting a balloon up your chimney, drop excluder, stops the heat escaping. Your utility bills will reduce. So even though you might be paying more for your items, there is a saving. Your electricity, fix that dripping tap in the bathroom so you don't waste your water. If you get your boiler and your system serviced, again, they're more efficient. So that is a way, again, of looking at how you can maintain your property. Don't wait for something to happen. Take control now. Okay, here we go. Contents claims. My gran would have taken her iron probably to Valpe's and said, my iron's not working, can you fix it for me, please? Now, if your iron breaks now, it's, oh, well, I can get that replaced, I'll buy a new one. So, and it goes into landfill. Although if I can just do a bit of marketing now, there is the Repair Cafe, which comes, which works from the Health Connection shop in Smith Street. They do repairs. Also, personally, our Hoover broke recently, all the lead was gone. So we bought a new lead instead of a new Hoover. It's the mindset. We are a disposable society, but it's the mindset that look to repair it instead of replace it. Salvage, what we call salvage is if we deal with an insurance claim and you have a three-piece suite, one chair's been damaged, the policyholder will say, well, I'd like a new three-piece suite. There are implications for payments with that, but why not look to get your chair recovered or look to sell it? I know that there's things like Guernsey, eBay, but there must be a place where even you have a big room, only part of the carpet's damaged. Surely the rest of that carpet can be put to use by somebody else instead of just going into landfill. Again, damaged items, if they can't be repaired, get them recycled, don't throw them over the South Cliffs. The Guernsey government, that they will collect your white items for you. Again, there may be bits in those white items that can be taken out and put to use in other items. So there are so many things that we can do, a new way we can look at how we deal with our damaged contents. Years ago, we wouldn't have thought we'd have had 3 colour bags outside our front door for our recycling. Now it's the norm. It's what we all do. It's just the mindset. Again, it's also how it's marketed. So if I said to you, oh, my blouse is secondhand, you might think, oh, she can't afford to buy a new one. If I said this is vintage or upstyled or pre-loved, well, that's great. Again, it's the perception. What is wrong with buying an item which someone no longer wants? There's an expression, one person's rubbish is another man's treasure. So there must be a use for some. If an item isn't damaged, you just don't want it anymore. We go and put them, there are the charity shops, take them down to the charity shops, donate them somewhere, ask a friend if they want them. Think before you throw it away or put it in the landfill. Think what you can do first. Now, going back to the right to repair and repair and replacement, usually with white goods, this doesn't relate to computers, but your product's usually about 7 years old, and you'd say to your, the supplier, oh, it's broken, I need to get it fixed, and they would say, no, actually, you need to get a new one. Although fixing it may be economical. There's a UK legislation coming out where the customer will have the right to say, actually, no, I want you to fix it. I don't want to buy a new one, so that white goods last longer. And again, they don't go in landfill. And again, we're back to maintenance. So how can insurers assist the policy and the homeowner? We're back here to it's education, guidance, information. If anybody wants any more information on this, I did a whole load of stuff on it, and I would have spent hours talking to you about different bits and pieces you could do. The object of this webinar today is to convince you that buying an insurance policy that takes into account sustainability and durability and your carbon footprint is what you want to buy, is what you think is the future of insurance. So any more information you want, please ask me. I'll send you as much as you want, but please consider this. Think of what insurers can offer you and think of how you can work with your insurance company. Again, mitigation and prevention. back to the life jacket. You might not be aware that you need to maintain your boiler once a year, or get your water cylinder service once a year, or maybe get your radiators bled once a year. But again, it's about education and how insurers can help you to maintain your property to prevent any claims from occurring in the future. Again, building trust. You know what the insurer wants to offer you and can provide. The policyholder knows what they want. It is that relationship. Currently, you can look at a premium. Yeah, that's a good premium. I'll get that covered. That's fine. You might look and think, well, I'll insure. You know, in the UK insurer, they're really quick. You know, that they're quick to produce the documentation. Look at doing this. Insure locally. If you insure locally, the insurer is on your doorstep. You can go and you can talk to them face to face. A query, you can go to the insurance brokers locally as well. They're the experts. If you've got a query, use your broker. Now, our company only deals with local insurance companies, so I'm not trying to solicit business or anything here. But what I'm saying is that this is Guernsey, this is the Channel Islands. We need to work together. And people who've had claims that we've dealt with, there's a fire at the weekend, they phone the insurer, we're there, the insurer's there. This, I won't say the name, but a couple of months ago there was a fire, these people had nowhere to go. We got them in, this was during lockdown as well, managed to get them to a local hotel. We got the property boarded up. There isn't the delay, and it's having that trust and knowing that insurers can give you this service and give it to you locally. You can't beat that. You cannot beat the face-to-face and the trust that you can build in a relationship, as opposed to, you don't want to phone a call centre. You want to have that. This is Guernsey, we do things differently over here. You're not a policyholder, you're a person. And that makes all the difference when you have a policy. Okay, next steps for me. So my panel of experts, which is my dream team, as I call them, who I met with last Thursday. As I said, we've got a plan. It's a big plan. There are a lot of parts in it. So we've all gone away. We've all got little bits and pieces to do. So I know that it's a work in progress, but that we're going in the right direction, and to have an insurance company who thinks this is a relevant form of cover that is vital for the industry, with suppliers who say, yes, we're going to deal with, look at our UK suppliers, and an idea which the actual, one of the surveyor who was at the meeting said, he said he's been on a diet, and so when he goes shopping, he looks at foods which red, amber, green, because of the fat content and the sugar. What about if when you had an item you wanted to buy a sustainable product, it was rated red, amber, green for sustainability? So you knew what you were buying. That's absolutely great. Again, it's something we're looking at. And this is something completely different, but from a PR company perspective, I'm liaising with a local PR company because Guernsey has so many initiatives.
Ready?
Holly, can you go on to mute, please? Thanks. Sorry, it's my daughter talking to a dog. So when you look at something, you think, oh, I want to recycle my eggshells. I want to know about how to attract bees to my garden. That there is an umbrella website that you can go to and say, I want to do this. And they will direct you to the relevant website or link of that local initiative. So that's something, again, that I'm doing, nothing to do with the insurance, but it's something that, again, it's Guernsey working together. Next steps for you. Speak to your broker, speak to your insurance company, tell them you think this is a good idea, or maybe not at the moment, not something you consider at the moment, but what Lauren will be doing shortly is she's actually going to launch a question for all of you. So I'm hoping that by what I've said to you today, that it does make sense and it's made you think. Again, check your home. I mean, it might be not something that you think of. Walk around your home, think, oh, I didn't realise that tap was dripping. There's a draft coming through my letterbox. You know, when you look to maybe undertake repairs to your property as a general maintenance issue, think, you know, oh, I might look at doing it that way. When did I last get my boiler serviced? It's just little things that you wouldn't think of. I'm very much a big list person. So I like lists. So I would recommend going around room for room, just doing a list of what you think you could do to improve, or maybe, you know, changes, or even you think I'm actually doing all I can. If you're doing all you can to maintain your property and you're happy with what you're doing, have a look about offsetting your carbon footprint, because if there's nothing else that you can do regarding maintenance, you can look to do that. Okay, here we go. Benefits for Guernsey. Guernsey, this is Guernsey Finance Week. There have been some phenomenal talks this week and what we can offer. And we know that Guernsey is a lead in the world. Green tourism, again, that's something that is being discussed, how we can attract tourists to the island. You think, well it's another string to Guernsey's bow. Green tourism, green finance, green insurance. Locate Guernsey, people look to move to Guernsey. We know there's been an increase in people moving, certainly since COVID. Again, it's Guernsey's environment, what Guernsey is doing. And again, it's another selling point. We know the government have got their targets to reduce Guernsey's carbon footprint, and they're looking at ways to do it. This will help reduce Guernsey's carbon footprint. Again, something else I was told recently, it was Mark Lenny that said it, at the moment, to offset your carbon footprint, it's about £8 a tonne. The closer we get to that deadline, the more it's going to cost. So £8 a tonne now, we could be looking at £1,000 a tonne by 2040. So again, let's do it now. And as I said before, we're assisting the government in meeting their targets. So here's the question. Would you take out an insurance policy if the insurance company took into account the steps you were taking to reduce your carbon output and worked with you to find a more environmental friendly solution when settling a claim? A lot of words, big question. Lauren, you're right to launch the poll, please. Thanks. So it is anonymous. So please, if this really, be honest with how you feel about this, but I'm really hoping that from starting at this webinar to the end, that I've hopefully convinced some of you that this is a good idea. So what, we've got about a minute? Okay. Yeah, can you share the results? Okay, thanks. Oh, okay. That's absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Oh, thank you. Sorry, a bit emotional. That was better than I could have expected. Yes, cost is always an implication, and that is going to be the selling point where we need to say to people, it's going to cost a bit now, but in the long term, it's an investment and it will reduce costs in the future. So that I'm not often I'm speechless, but that is great. So if I can just also share another couple of thoughts. I was at an event last week and the Clean Earth Trust, actually Helen got to speak. And I don't know the origin of this comment, but one thing she did say, which stuck with me, was it's only one straw said 8 billion people. Now, that just goes to show that one person can make a change. Now, there's something else that I read this out and I was told that it may be a bit naive of me to think this, but communities have to work together. There's no point living a life that serves you and no one else. Now, hashtag Guernsey together. I think we can do whatever we put our mind to. Okay, that's me finished. So any questions, please? Thank you so much. And my contact information is there. Please email me if you have any questions you want to meet and chat. Happy to take this further with anybody who's interested. Thank you so much for listening. Rollo, have you got any questions?
Yeah, we do. So yeah, thank you very much, Julie-anne, for that presentation. We've got 4 or 5 questions here, so we'll start at the top. So from Lyle, hopefully I pronounced that right. Are there any current insurers that provide better premiums for such sustainability efforts that we know of?
Not that I'm aware of. Certainly not in Guernsey, but I've looked at UK insurers to find out, like the bigger ones, Aviva, Allianz, or RSA, and what they seem to be doing is they are looking at how they are functioning as an insurance company and looking to offset their carbon footprint that they are generating as a company. I've not found anything specific tailored to a sustainable approach. But
I suppose it's fair to say that should someone launch a product such as this, and it sounds like it's a good idea to do so, that would help the insurers with their carbon footprint as well, wouldn't it? Because what they'd be...
Oh, yes, I think so.
So
yeah,
everyone wins in that situation.
And hopefully have a domino effect, because if competition in the market, if one person's doing it, hopefully someone else think I'll do that as well.
Yeah.
And it will, it's taking that first step and thinking, oh, maybe it has been discussed previously by somebody and it hasn't happened. But I do think that if one insurer takes initiative to do it, from market forces, the rest will have to follow suit.
Yeah, and good ideas, they start somewhere and then they grow. So there's another question here. Could this be taken to mainland England?
Oh, yes. Any insurer, anywhere. It's not just here. It's just that because the community that I'm in and the role that I'm in, I work with local insurance companies, and I see when dealing with claims what materials are being used, and then from being on the SBI with Rollo, I see what's happening. Reading books. Listen to David Attenborough. It's something that I'm very passionate about, and if I can do something in the role that I have in insurance and make people aware this is something that we can do in the insurance industry by me saying something about it, then yeah. So if somebody in the UK says do this, then yeah, please, anybody. I think this initiative can be taken anywhere, and it's certainly, I don't know if anybody's aware of Island Innovation as well with James Elsmore. They're a collaboration of islands that get together. So I'm hoping again to speak with them and say, because we're unique, we're an island, we have our government, we have our community, and I think we can take action quicker and more effectively because of who we are in Guernsey as a community. That is our strength.
Okay, great. So an idea whose time has come and potentially scalable across any other jurisdiction as well. So really exciting that.
Yeah.
So Graham asks, this is a great initiative, well done. However, to give us a full picture, have insurers indicated what percentage premium uplift will be to provide the type of policy you are describing, or is it premium neutral?
Not at the moment, Graham. Where we're at the moment is the next step in our roadmap is we are liaising with this insurer, and when there's the next claim which warrants, we don't want to wish a bad claim on anybody, but that warrants a detailed specification, we are going to price that specification using current materials, and then the larger ticket items like the flooring, the wood, the method of construction, with what it would cost if you used sustainable products or you use more durable products. So that is the next step, is to start looking at the pricing, at the price implications, and to basically, the selling point is if you do a proper job now, you'll reduce claims in the future and premiums will stabilize. So at the moment, yeah, it is not a quick fix now. It requires a lot of investigation. But as I said at the start, it's taken me 18 months to get to this point, but now we're heading somewhere. People are, the dream team are engaged to move this forward. So I would hope that if the policyholder maintains their property and meets the obligations under the policy, and the insurer says this is what you're covered for, that there will be some premium offset there, that ultimately there is a benefit for the policyholder to want to take this premium out, this policy out. And premiums go up and up anyway. What about if your premium stabilised? So again, it's a lot of work to do, but we're on the way.
It sounds like once a specific product is drafted and created, then people can crunch the numbers on that.
Yes.
Because as with all insurance products, the devil is in the detail, isn't it? So,
yes.
And so that needs to be carefully considered. But I suppose the message is this is the start of the journey, and if any insurers are out there thinking this is a good idea, then liaise with Julie-anne on fleshing something out, and then those costs will come out. But it looks likely that if you went through this process and you worded it carefully, that the premiums would come down.
I think long term, yes, because
in the longer term,
I think that's the whole premise of this, is in the long term, that you will have a better product which will last longer, so there'll be less claims. So, and premiums will stabilise. That is because the industry cannot continue as it is, and this is we're talking many years ahead now. But premium stabilised, carbon footprint reduces, it's offset. We know that you've got the storms and floods, the extreme weather because of all global warming. If that settles down as well, that impacts on claims. So again, it's not someone else's problem in the next generation. It's our problem to do something about it now.
Yeah, entirely agreed. Okay, I've got one last question here. So if anyone's got any more questions, please type frantically while we're asking this one. Otherwise, this is our last question. So from Deputy John Gollop, what can deputies do to help move this forward?
Legislation. You've got a lot to do, guys, anyway, I know, and but if we can look at, we've got the green policy, we can look at, if something's in legislation, then it has to be done, but I don't. So
something around the build it, you were saying before around.
I think certainly from a construction perspective, I haven't spoken to Victoria Oliver about any of this, but when you have your planning, look at the planning laws, the planning regulations, look at with the environment policy. Is there something that we can put under there? I don't believe we have smart meters over here where you know what your energy output is every day. I know that they're compulsory in the UK. But I do think there are more ways that the homeowner can be educated, and maybe government can help. I'm aware that that there isn't any money in the pot with government at the moment. But if legislation is changed, then the government aren't effectively dipping in their own pocket. They're just changing the legislation to meet the needs of our environment. So I'm happy to meet and chat and
So it sounds like there's some specifics there to be noodled through, but I suppose the key message from Julie-anne on all of this is it requires each of the stakeholders to be involved and wanting it. So, deputies are clearly a part of that. You also have the building manufacturers, the suppliers, and the insurers themselves, and all the others, people on that complex web of a slide that Julie-anne showed earlier. So I think it's upon us to talk to our insurers, for insurers to come up with products, et cetera, and where legislation needs changing, to put stuff in place, though we all know that's not a quick process, but it might well be that something that Guernsey can be a real leader on, and we've seen island jurisdictions in other places really be very successful in specialising around particular insurance segments. There's an island in I think in the Caribbean that focuses on marine insurance and that type of thing, I believe. So we can see that this can drive whole economies if done right, and if we develop the expertise here. So that's really exciting. So I think that's. I've got one more question that's just arrived. Thank you. Let me just go to that. Sorry, while I was rabbiting on. Okay. I've got one here saying, do you think if environmental lobbyists partner with insurers, would that push legislation onward?
Oh, that can do. I think so. It's awareness, isn't it? It's you don't know what you don't know. So the more information there is out there, the more I think we work together. Then yeah, it's having a voice. Yeah. And yeah, I think working together is the thing to do. Is the way to go. Okay,
and then another question here. This one from Neil Brennan. I think this is a statement. So any new builds should be required to meet a green minimum requirement.
Yes, I think so. And there is a contractor at the moment who actually, that is his main focus when he does actually do builds, and he's also can do thermal imaging and look where heat is escaping. Yeah, that's an initiative that he's done himself. So if that was put in place for all properties that were built, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would like the conversation around, making buildings more sustainable to move away from that conversation around payback. It's probably the only thing where we talk about something having to pay back over time. People buy new and better things, or they improve things all the time without any talk about payback. The payback, while it might be implicit in some kind of sustainable change to your building, is only one of the considerations. Another consideration is, what will this do to my footprint? How will it help me do my bit? So I think that's an important context there. So I think that brings us to the end of the questions. So I think it's on me now to thank everyone involved. So first of all, thank you all for coming and logging in and listening and being engaged in this process. And please help spread the word about this amongst your colleagues. And Julie-anne, she is available for discussions and to help move this forward in your organisation, or if you have any questions around how you can help in any way at all. I think it's a really exciting one. Thank you to Julie-anne, obviously, for putting this together and braving an online webinar for the first time, which is daunting and hard to do. And I think you did an amazing job. So virtual round of applause. I think you won't be able to hear anyone else, but well done for that. And also thank you to Chamber and for Lauren, who's hiding behind that logo there, for helping us organise this and set it up. So thank you very much, Lauren and Chamber, for hosting. And thank you to Guernsey Sustainable Finance for letting us be part of their week of Guernsey Green Finance, having them be part of their Sustainable Finance Week. It's a really exciting thing, and I think we have great momentum here. So I think with that, I think we can say thank you all, and I think we're done.
Okay, bye. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much.